produce the right ending for himself. So people were still extraordinarily nervous. But I'll remind you that everybody got a little bit more bullish and brave once they saw the power diminish here and thought that they were on safe ground to get their pound of flesh. But it wasn't easy to get to line these people up again, because it's one thing to do an interview for print and the brilliant work that Jodi Kantor did, the New York Times, but it's another to be immortalized in film forever. So it was tough.
Great interview, The Reckoning. Okay, Michael Bixon. A lot of these documentaries, the stories written about Harvey Weinstein, even the way we deliver this here at Court TV, disgraced movie mogul, Hollywood, all of that. Well, you know what? You saw the interview that I did with one of the accusers from 1978. 1978, Bixon. He was a concert promoter in Buffalo, New York, very far from Hollywood. And she claims that he raped her. I mean, it wasn't just the groping or the harassment. It was sexual intercourse. It was not consensual in her. That is her claim. What does that tell you about Harvey Weinstein and this allegation now in New York that he faces of being a predator?
It fits the storyline that the prosecutors have set forth, right? And it might be on a smaller scale. It might not be on the same sort of standard that now they're alleging that he's been doing this stuff. You know, it's sort of the small time thing back then as a concert promoter as compared to, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in these movies and shows and so forth. But the act is the same. And it parallels the stories that we're seeing now. And these parallel acts make it very hard for the defense to argue otherwise, especially when you have such a long timeline that's going to be set forth from all these witnesses.
When I got to speak to the defense attorneys, the lead attorneys, Donna Rotuno and Damon Tronis, we talked about this casting couch culture. And, you know, it could be used both ways, because a lot of times the whole idea of it was, okay, this is normal and this is how everybody is. And, you know, on the other side, it becomes a environment that breeds predatory behavior. But, okay, I just want to add to that the defense team has intimated that there was a possibility, and I don't know that now because I spoke to them a little while ago about this casting couch issue, that they would call some type of expert to talk about the Hollywood culture and to talk about all of that, you know, while some of these actresses would come in for a meeting, when they said no, maybe it was misinterpreted because of the casting couch, because of the Hollywood culture, okay? Let's just say, I mean, we're just gonna, you know, as we get ready for the trial, we're just like playing like what ifs here, right? If they called some type of expert to talk about this casting couch and talk about Hollywood, would the prosecution be able to, let's say, reopen this argument that, hey, we should be allowed to call an accuser from 1978, Judge, even though you agreed that litigated that she was too remote, 1978, too long ago, too far removed. But if the defense is going to say that this is part of the casting couch culture, shouldn't I, as the prosecution, be able to say, no, he's been doing this way before there was a casting couch?
In some respects, I want to agree with you. I think the bigger issue for if you're going to call forth an expert that's going to say, hey, look, this is the norm, this is how things work, this is how things are done, the question isn't so much, can we bring somebody back from 30, 40 years ago to come and testify? The question is, does that make it right? If that's part of the culture, is the culture wrong or right? And just because it's part of the culture, does that still mean that's not a criminal act? You know?
Oh, no, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And look, I think for the prosecutor, if they're able to get that witness, great, fantastic. But I think there's something equally repulsive about bringing forth that argument that it's okay, it's part of the culture. Doesn't make it any less predatory, doesn't make it any less of a criminal act.
That's a good
point. It just means that everybody's doing it.
Michael, thank you so much. Okay, turning our attention now to another trial that we are covering. Our Court TV team right now, they are in Pensacola, Florida, for a family murder death penalty trial. Jury selection underway now in Florida versus Hartung. This is a 63-year-old man accused of brutally killing his elderly mom and his two half-brothers in July of 2015. The bodies of Von Seal Smith, John Smith, and Richard Smith were discovered just days later, stabbed in the neck and buried under piles of clothes. Very strange. Von Seal and John Smith also suffered blunt force trauma, and Richard was shot in the right ear. Prosecutors now believe the motive was money. Von Seal's estate attorney confirmed that the mother had excluded Donald Hartung from her will, but his half-brothers out of the way. What does that mean for Hartung? Well, then he would be the last surviving family member. But right after the killings, the motive seemed to point towards, whoa, witchcraft. Yes, I said witchcraft. According to a warrant, investigators researched pagan rituals and found that the details of the crime loosely fit with a Wiccan prosperity spell. A search of Hartung's home revealed the alleged murder weapons and a room designated for, what do you think, pagan worship. We are going to have more details about jury selection, which begins tomorrow morning, and we will cover it for you live, gavel to gavel.
Tonight on Court TV.
We'll break down today's jury selection in the Harvey Weinstein rape trial, and our teams are live in New York with every update. Plus, we look at a new death penalty case in Florida. Donald Wade Hartung is standing trial for the triple murder of his mother and two half-brothers. Were these killings motivated by money?
Closing arguments with Vinnie Politan. Tonight, starting at 6/5 Central on the all-new Court TV.
Team is also in Pensacola, Florida for a family murder death penalty trial. Jury selection resumes tomorrow morning in Florida versus Donald Hartung.